I blocked my estranged father from contacting me after he showed up at my college, graduation uninvited. And now my grandmother is saying, I've broken an old man's heart and denied him the chance to make amends before. It's too late. My father left when I was 7 years old, just packed his things one day, and moved 3 states away to be with a woman he'd been having an affair with. For the first year after he left, he'd call occasionally and promise to visit, but those calls became less frequent until they stopped completely by the time I was 9. He sent birthday cards irregularly, sometimes with a check for $20, sometimes with nothing but a signature. When I turned 13, even the birthday cards stopped coming. I was raised by my mom, who worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat after he left. She never badmouthed him to me, but I could see how hard she struggled and how much his absence hurt both of us. By the time I was in high school, I'd made peace with the fact that I effectively didn't have a father. I stopped wondering when he'd call or if he'd show up for important events. It was easier that way. Last month I graduated from college. I'm the first person in my family to get a degree, and my mom was incredibly proud. The graduation was small, just close family and friends. My mom, my stepdad who came into my life when I was 14 and has been more of a father than my biological dad ever was, my aunt, my best friend, and my boyfriend were all there. The ceremony was outside on the campus lawn. After I walked across the stage and got my diploma, I was scanning the crowd for my mom when I saw him. My father was sitting in the back row wearing a suit I didn't recognize, holding flowers. My stomach dropped. I hadn't seen him in person in probably 8 years, and I definitely hadn't invited him or told him about the graduation. After the ceremony ended, he approached me before I could get to my family. He had tears in his eyes and said, "Congratulations, sweetie. I'm so proud of you." I just stood there frozen. He tried to hug me and I stepped back. I asked him what he was doing there. He said my grandmother had told him about the graduation and he couldn't miss such an important day in his daughter's life. I felt this surge of anger. I said, "You've missed every important day in my life for the past 15 years. Why would you think I'd want you at this one?" He looked hurt and said he knew he'd made mistakes, but he wanted to be here for this. He held out the flowers and I didn't take them. My mom came over looking tense. She and my father exchanged awkward hellos. My stepdad hung back, but I could see him watching the situation carefully. My father said he'd love to take me to dinner to celebrate, that we had a lot to catch up on. I told him I already had plans with my real family and that he needed to leave. He tried to argue that he was my real family, that he was my father, and nothing could change that. I said being someone's father means more than biology and that he'd given up any right to call himself that years ago. He started crying and saying he'd made terrible choices, but he wanted a chance to make things right. I told him it was too late for that and walked away. He tried to follow me, but my stepdad intercepted him and had a quiet conversation that I couldn't hear. My father ended up leaving, but not before trying to give my mom his new phone number to pass along to me. That night, I blocked his number and blocked him on all social media. A few days later, my grandmother called me crying, saying that my father was heartbroken and had been trying to reach me. She said he's been going through a hard time lately, that he's recently divorced from the woman he left my mom for, and that he's been reflecting on his mistakes and genuinely wants to rebuild a relationship with me. I told her I appreciated her position, but that I wasn't interested in having a relationship with him. She said I was being cruel and unforgiving, that everyone deserves a second chance, and that he's getting older and I'll regret not giving him this opportunity when he's gone. She said showing up at my graduation took courage and proved he cares. I said if he cared, he would have been there for the past 15 years, not just when it was convenient for him to show up and feel good about himself. My grandmother said I was being cold and that forgiveness is important, especially for family. She's been calling me repeatedly, asking me to unblock him and give him a chance. My mom says it's completely my decision and she'll support whatever I choose. My boyfriend thinks I should at least hear him out. My best friend says I don't owe him anything. Am I the asshole?